Hey, what's up? It's Tony. I hope you enjoyed the video you're about to watch and you get some useful information from there that you can utilize in your own life so that you can have a healthier, much more enjoyable lifespan. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's video is about, well, actually it was a question that was asked on Quora Digest, and I think that it will help a lot of people as we get older. If you're my age and older, 60, right, and you are blessed to still have a parent or your parents, right, there are certain things that you may need to do to support them as they are aging. And here's some of the things that I did for my mom, that is helping her to live her best life as she's getting older, and I hope it helps. So I'll go through each one. So let's see. One of the first things that we did when my father passed away, one of the first things that was important to get done was to get her finances in order. And my parents, I'm not sure if they're like yours, or her filing system was literally like hundreds of little plastic bags that you would get from the grocery store. That was her filing system, and it took me a long time to dig through that and make sense and heads and tails of what was going on, right? But it was the only way that I would be able to figure out exactly what was available to her, how much money she had for old age, her life insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really important for me to go through and figure out and manage my mom's finances, right? We also too were able to, we had to get all of her taxes up to date. That was a key thing, right, to help her organize her finances. And one of the things that I also did immediately was we found a family attorney, right, because there's a lot of different things, and it's very, very complicated. And she was a little resistant initially of me being all up in her business, right, but after it was all done and with the advice of the family attorney, right, I was given power of attorney, and there's two actually. There's power of attorney for health, and there's power of attorney for real estate, right? Is that the two? Yeah, that's the two. And so the two, right, play very big roles in decision making as your parents or grandparents or your spouse, right, get older. And so, because then you have some control over their wishes and being able to execute what it is that they would like to have. And sometimes as family members, get older, parents get older, right, maybe they are not as efficient or as on with these things. So, they could miss something. And so it's really important to organize their finances, keep them abreast of what's going on, include it in the decision making and what exactly you're doing, so that they are not stressed out or get themselves into a situation that could be really detrimental to their financial health as they age. That's number one. Second one is what we did was we immediately got my mom a Life Alert necklace, and that thing has proven to be absolutely outstanding. It's given me and my siblings such peace of mind, and also to my mom such peace of mind, that if anything was to happen to her, if she was to have a fall, she immediately when you fall, the way it works is if you fall, right, it sends a signal to Life Alert, and they make a call in, and it's a paramedic, or it's the police, or it's the 911, right, actually it's their own operators, right, to find out if you need help. And if you don't answer it, right, then they send help immediately, whether it's the police or the ambulance or the fire department. So that gives us all peace of mind that we can navigate our life. My mom can navigate her life, right, with peace of mind, knowing that if something was to happen to her, she can easily also to press the button and get immediate help. Because oftentimes, although she and my sister live together, right, my sister may not be home, and we all feel better to know that my mom, if something was to happen, right, there will be an immediate response. And that gives her a great sense of security and independence too. Number three, in helping out an elderly parent or family member or friend or spouse, one of the things that we got also too was we had all of her medications put in a blister pack. And so basically what this pack does is it allows my mom to take exactly the right medications exactly at the right time every day. So without making a mistake, without fumbling, without having bottles and child secure bottles, or guessing. Again, super important because some of these medications are absolutely necessary for her to live her life. And so therefore it gives us all peace of mind knowing, and herself peace of mind knowing, that all she has to do is pop it open, right? Take whatever's in there at that specific time of the day, afternoon and night. And that has been tremendously worthwhile and having done because it eliminates so much stress for all of us, because we know that she is smart enough to take exactly what's in that thing exactly at that time. That's proven to be so incredibly helpful. Number 4, we go annually to a geriatric hospital for a full checkup. So yeah, my mom has a great doctor and who's been there, for the long haul, but there are certain things that you need a specialist for, especially as you're dealing with an older person. And so what that allowed us to do was to get my mom to do cognitive tests, right, for her memory, to see where she's at, also to check on medication interactions, mobility. They really more specialized in the needs of an older person would be beyond her physician. And so far so good. Everything is great, and but it was also too good to know where she was in terms of her aging process and the things that may come along with it. And so that has been absolutely wonderful. She was initially resistant. Elderly people don't want to go to a geriatric hospital, for all of what it means to them, right? However, we felt it was super important, and we told her that it would increase the quality of her life, and so she agreed, and it has been great. God bless. Right now she is functioning amazing and has no mobility issues. She's going to physiotherapy when needed. She's doing her home exercises, which were all recommended from the geriatric hospital. So that's tip number 4. This is tip number 5 for taking care of an elderly person in your life, or giving them the tools so that they can live a healthier life, and then you can be also less stress-free as you age, right? Not stress-free, but manage your stress better. Number 5 it's not necessarily a tip or a product or a service that we got. It was actually something that we asked her to do, right? And that was to get dressed every day, right? And yes, she's not going out every single day, right? But we didn't want her staying in her nightgown, or her bathrobe all day long. There is something to be said about getting dressed, the ritual of putting on clothes, what it represents, whether it's like, a self-confidence and appearance thing, all of these things that go along with it, sense of value, whatever it is, right? But I know, right, that my mom getting dressed every day, putting on, her small earrings and whatever, doing her hair, it means a lot to her. And so that was super important for her overall mental health and well-being, which is super important. So it's not necessarily a tip, but it's something that we found that's important. It makes her happy. And when we FaceTime her and we see that she's dressed and she has on her earrings and, what have you, she's proud. And she's happy, and really that's all we want at the end of the day for the people that we love, that are older, that we care about. So number 6, one of the things that we did also was we got her a smartphone. I have to tell you, initially, right, it was not easy, right? I mean, technology in elderly people sometimes is a lot to deal with. But if you can just muster through it and just give them the basics, right, it can prove to be a lifesaver. So my mom had a flip phone for many, many years. So you can only imagine going from a flip phone to, and in this case, an iPhone. It was just like, wow, it was just another world. So The reason why we got this for her has many advantages, and the key advantage to this is that my mom spends, quite a bit of time on her own by herself. My brother and my sister are, my sister lives with her, my brother, visits. I'm here where I am. I'm out of the country, but what was so important and why we decided to get her a smartphone was then she could FaceTime any of us, right, or her family members. And it's that connectivity, that connection to people, even through a phone, was so incredibly important to her well-being, her mental health, the inability not to feel isolated, the ability to share with her where I am and what it is that I'm doing in my life and my projects, and for her to be engaged and to have an opinion was amazing. And it's still difficult at times, because she'll, FaceTime and, all I'll be able to see is this, and I'll say, move the phone higher, and, it's kind of like down here and whatever, and it's over there. But, it's funny, and it makes her happy, and, it's funny because I see her checking out herself on the phone to make sure, like I said in the tip before, that her earrings are on and she's got her hair done, and, it's really cute. I also, too, feel incredibly engaged with my mom, being able to see her because I don't live as close to her as I would like to or can. And so it's nice to know that I can pick up the phone and she can see what it is that I'm doing and I can engage with her, and so, in between the times that I'm not visiting for the holidays and birthdays and what have you. So I think that it's so important for an elderly person to have communication, to not feel isolated, to feel that they're connected because they can see the other person. And so it's a bit difficult to get them used to it, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it for their overall health and your overall health and well-being and your stress as you get older. Number 7, I gotta tell you, right? Uber, right? Has been outstanding. And let me tell you, my mom stopped driving quite a few years ago. And then after her surgery, my dad used to drive, and then he passed away. And then after her surgery, she stopped really kind of going out for a little while there. And so it was up to me and my brother and sister to navigate her schedule and her doctor's appointments and everything else and groceries and all that other stuff because my mom wasn't leaving the house. And so of late, I had been sending actually, an Uber to help my mom to get her to appointments, with my sister, and so I would order them an appointment. My sister would go with my mom to whatever appointments she needed to go to. But there came an instance the other day, which gets me every time. I was so happy, is my mom had a skincare appointment, and my sister and my brother were not able to take her, and it was really important to her to go because she was stressing out about the skin ailment that she had, which in turn was stressing us all out because she had the skin ailment and she was getting obsessed about it. Anyways, right? So nobody was able to go with her, and I thought, oh my God, we've got to reschedule this thing. And so I told my mom, nobody's available, unfortunately, and she said, I'm going to take, get ready for it, a Uber. Which is how she pronounces it. And so I said, what? She goes, no, I can go in a Uber. Order me a Uber. And I was like, wow, this is huge, Okay, so long story short, ordered her the Uber. I left a note with the Uber driver to take care of my mom. She's old. She moves slowly, right? Here's what to look for. I'd appreciate it. Pull into the driveway. She was a slow walker. Blah 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 blah. Right? And she went to her skincare appointment, right? Skin doctor appointment, and called me when she wanted me to order it, and I ordered her the Uber, and it picked her up, and she went home, and it was perfection. And I thought, this is amazing. And so this independence now, that she has to be able to go where she needs to go, whether it's to a doctor's appointment or to visit a friend, she can now go, and that helps her feel that she is a part of her life and that she's not bothering anybody and she's not trying to reschedule something what she really wants to do, that she can get into an Uber and go about her destination. And she also realizes that, nobody's going to murder her, and it's not this thing that she is seen and whatever, mind was going with her. But yeah, having access to an Uber and ordering it for an older person so they can have mobility, go see their friends, do their doctor appointments, go to their groceries, whatever it is, so that they feel that they are not isolated and they're in this world and they're navigating, is so good for their mental health, so good for their well-being, so good for all of the people in their lives, right? You know, that they are not worried about rescheduling their whole thing and whatever, because things can get complicated. Lives are complicated as we get older. That this person now has access to mobility and being able to go where they need to go when they want to go. So Uber or whatever car service that you want to use wherever you are, right, has become an amazing, amazing tool. By the way, to add to that video about the Uber, right, the following day my mom had to go and get her blister pack, which I mentioned before. And normally my sister, or would go and get it for her on Sunday. They give her 2 weeks worth, and it's not very far. It's actually in the neighborhood. It's walking distance, side streets. And so I guess my mom was inspired inspired after the Uber drive, because the following day she got dressed and she went and picked up her medication by herself. Had a nice chat with the pharmacist, had a nice chat with somebody else, bought some Ensure, bought some whatever, and came back. And that was the first time in probably 5 years that my mom has gone anywhere by herself. Yeah, made me very, very happy. I was so proud of her. Number 8. I don't know where you are in the world, right? My mom is in Canada, right? I live in the States. Our health insurance is very different. They both have their own set of problems, right? And issues. But what we did for my mom, right, in addition to her socialized medicine in Canada, because I know that, I understand that it's very strained right now because, anyways, that's another story. I'm not getting into that. But what I did, and if you can too, if possible at all, is we took out additional medical insurance for her. And that supplements all the other things that she may not have access to, right, as a senior person, because oftentimes, a senior person may need more medical visits than a person that's younger. So the insurance that she had, her entire life was substantial and did great, but as she had gotten older, she had heart issues. She needed more things covered. And so if at all possible, I know this is not possible for everyone, but we were fortunate enough to be able to get a really great insurance, because my mom's health was, pretty good. And it has come in really, really handy. It pays for so much. And so, that has been a godsend. We were able to get her, I'll give you for instance, when she was having her surgery in the hospital, she was really, really, really scared, right, and she wanted, one of us to stay overnight with her at the hospital, right, because we were able to upgrade to a private room at no additional cost, because it was picked up by the additional insurance. We were able to get her a private room and then a cot or a chair that we could stay in the room with her in the private room, so that she had the comfort of a family member to be with her all night. And that was an amazing help. And that's just one example of, the additional insurance, because it would have cost, we wouldn't have been able to afford a private room. And, I feel very much in my mom's case, it played a role in her healing, and feeling the comfort knowing that her family members were there with her. We were able there also to be there in the morning when the doctors made their rounds, and they wake her up at like 5:30 in the morning, asking her, do you know your name and what medicine? And she's groggy and she's old and she can't answer all the questions. And then she would have to relay it back to me because I wasn't there. And so by being able to stay in the private room, I was there when they made their rounds, and was able to hear everything that was going on, so that I could take with her as well, but also too as the power of attorney, which I said in the other tips, right? I was more knowledgeable in the decision making because I was getting the first-hand information from the doctors, not from my mom, who had just woken up and groggy to me and miss out on things that were critical. And that's just one example of having additional insurance. I'm sure that you can look into it and read policies and what are the requirements. But in the long run, if there was any hospital care or any additional things that were needed, right, you have that coverage, which I think at that age is pretty important. Number nine on the tips to help an elderly person in your life is we signed her up for physical therapy. Actually, that's another thing that we were able to get from the health insurance that wasn't coming to me at the time. We were able to get her physical therapy, and without the additional health insurance, she wouldn't have been able to go because it's so expensive. And so they cover 80% of it. So when she goes to physical therapy, I think it's like $15, $20 for 45 minutes. And as an older person, her being able to be mobile and having mobility, and she has osteoporosis, this has been also to a godsend. It also too gives her a chance to go on an outing because she thinks, she's out of the house for her appointment, and she'll stop and she'll get a coffee and what have you. But this is so good to keep her active and keep her body moving and reduce her aches and pains because she gets to go there and they work on her, and then they specialize in elderly people with osteoporosis and mobility issues. And then she feels great when she comes back, and then she does all of her exercises during the time in between physical therapy. So I've seen a change in her. I've seen a way that she stands, right, because she started to slouch, and I've seen just a different kind of excitement because there's something on the calendar that she can do. So that's been a blessing to get her out of the house, but also that it allows her to maintain her range of motion and her mobility, because she had a tendency to live a very sort of sedentary lifestyle, and that's kind of the beginning of things not going good. And so fortunately, I'm blessed to say that my mom is 88 years old, and she is living in a 2-story house and is walking up and down stairs and has no walker and no cane, no nothing. And I just feel that I'm blessed, and that was part of it as well, was actually having her having access to physical therapy. Number 10, laser eye surgery for her cataracts. Let me tell you, that was one of the best things that we could have done, because there was this constant search for the glasses, where are the glasses, and the stress out, where's the glasses? And then she would go upstairs, the glasses would be downstairs, she'd have to go back downstairs. I'm afraid that she's going up and down too many times, may trip and fall, endless stuff trying to read, where are the glasses? Mom, where are your glasses on FaceTime? They're on the top of her head, this kind of stuff. Anyways, right, it was, she was scared, which is understandable. It's eye surgery, but it is so common, I came to find out, that so many people, elderly people, have gotten it done, and it has changed their lives because they can see. And now I know that there's going to be different stigmatisms and different levels, whatever, but it's something to look into for somebody that you care about, right, to see if they are eligible to get this laser surgery. What we did do, that was important, and my mom requested it, was because I was being my hyper efficient self, wanted her to get both eyes done, but she's like, I don't want to be blind, right, and she would require more care if she couldn't see, because there were 2 bandages on for how many days, right? So she got one done at a time, and it's been amazing. She doesn't even know where her eyeglasses are anymore, right? Which is fantastic. And so if at all possible, it is life-changing. It is very, very common for older people to get this surgery done. Of course, research the doctors, make sure they're reputable and all that other stuff, handhold that person through it, because it is a scary prospect. Start with one eye at a time, right? But it proves to be life-changing for them. And for me too, because then I'm less stressed about these glasses and where are they, and I don't know where they are, and she can't read any. Yeah, all that stuff. All right, so that's tip number, what was that, 10? Yeah. Number, I don't have 11 fingers, but number 11. This is not really a tip. This is just something that we had noticed, that's above and beyond all of the other 10 tips that I shared with you, is, right, my mom's life is very, very different now, than it used to be, and it's, she was is still a vibrant woman, multiple jobs and many careers, and been amazing, and so it's different. It looks different now, and so what we're trying to do, me and my brother and my sister, is not to be so impatient with her, and to be kinder and to be more thoughtful. And yes, it can be difficult sometimes because she can be cranky, and maybe she has every right. She's on this side of her life, and has seen a lot and lived a lot. So I think that, if I can share this with you, is that, I try my best, and we all try our best to be more engaging with her and not so quick to get her off the phone, and to allot some time to her, to chat and engage her in conversations, to let her be a part of the decision making in her life, to let her know what's going on in our lives with, all the good things, that is happening, the good and the bad. And so, basically not rushing her off the phone because she may repeat herself, because that's just what she does sometimes, or be impatient with her. I think that by us being aware of her and how blessed we are still to have her, right, it allows us more patience and to have more of a conversation than a sort of an obligation. And that I know has increased her overall well-being as she's gotten older. She doesn't feel so isolated from us, even though we're in her lives, right? She feels more engaged, and I believe very strongly that it's added a richness to her life, and that's important, and that costs me nothing, costs my family nothing except a bit more patience, and isn't that what they deserve, And so it's not a tip, but it's something that we've seen that that we do. And let me tell you, I do know this, for all the stuff, that an elderly person can be, and, cranky, or their burden of responsibility that's placed on you, all the things that go along with that, or, or the things that they do that annoy you, trust me, those are probably the things that you're going to miss the most when they're gone. You will wish for that telephone, that thing that you call the annoying telephone call, or that obligatory call, or the things that they do, right? You will really, really miss that when they're gone. Right, and so try to have a little bit more patience, because also too, you're headed there, I'm headed there, so who's going to be patient for us? Wouldn't we want the same? I think so. Last but not least, two quick things at the very end. They're not necessarily tips, right? I think that it's really important to get to know your elderly person's bank manager, right? Super important, or their finance advisor. It's really important, right? To have a direct line of communication to them, right? And also to we all have gotten to know the lady that does my mom's taxes, right? That's so important, because then a direct line of communication, what's going on, things change, taxes change all the time. Sometimes there's new benefits that you're not aware of that you could be getting, right? A great tax person, right? Knowing what's going on is super, super, super important. I really hope all of these tips help in some way. I know that they've worked for me and my brother and my sister, and the people that we love, who are getting older, they deserve, to have the best quality of life, that they can have. And if these things can enrich their lives, then you know what, I'm happy to do it. I see the effects, and I think that I believe it's so important. Like I said before, I'm getting old, and I would hope and pray that somebody will be as kind to me and as patient and set these things up for me, so that I can live these years, these senior years, happy.